You're tuned in to the Restaurant RockStars Podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Hey guys, Roger here. Thanks again for tuning in. You know, I don't need to tell anyone that technology keeps moving forward at light speed, and there's always a new opportunity or a new solution to help you run a stronger restaurant business. And now, during this unprecedented crisis, is more important than ever to look at solutions that'll help you stay relevant with your customer, relevant with your consumer. So I'm really excited to be speaking today. My guest, Tasso Roumeliotis, has created a technology that allows you to keep in touch with your customer through an artificially intelligent-based business messaging system. I'm talking about keeping them informed, your customers, of change of hours or menu updates, or even answering the phone or answering texts. And the incredible thing is, it's even the artificial intelligence part that it answers frequently asked questions, okay? So stay tuned. This is going to be a fascinating episode. The company is called Numa. My guest, Tasso, is going to take us through his background, not only as a graduate of the Harvard Business School, but founding an Inc. 500 company, his work in finance, his work in technology, which ultimately led to this solution for your business. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Restaurant RockStars Podcast, and these are topics that help businesses rock their brands, deliver amazing guest service experiences, and implement technology that will improve their business. With me today is Mr. Tasso Roumeliotis, and he is the co-founder of a company called Numa, and this is especially relevant today because his company offers literally a virtual business answering service. And with the COVID-19 crisis changing everybody's business model upside down, it is a perfect time to speak with Tasso. Tasso, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks again. I mean, again, this is highly relevant because this crisis is affecting every business, literally globally. It's affecting employees. It's affecting customers. I mean, I don't need to go on and on because it's on the news every minute. But as a business, as a restaurant, we are simply trying to survive. And some businesses have been forced to close and others are pivoting their business models. And everybody needs to communicate with their customer. And that's literally where Numa comes in. Am I correct?
Yes. I mean, we definitely are trying to help particularly small businesses, Main Street businesses that are the most affected right now. It's definitely what we're looking to do.
Well, let's talk about Numa because it is an artificial intelligence-enabled business messaging platform, as I understand it. So before we get into all of that and talk about what Numa does, can you please describe for the audience, for those of us who may be unaware, what exactly is artificial intelligence?
So artificial intelligence tries to take what we as humans, as kind of Homo sapiens, and the sapien effectively being the intelligent part of our class, and bring and allow computers to do that for you in the simplest terms. So there's certain things that we do as humans, like we're answering questions or making different kinds of decisions. And what AI, or artificial intelligence, can do is it can program a computer to do that for you. And some of the more cutting edge and advanced areas is an area called machine learning, which is also a pretty topical buzzword right now. What machine learning does is just like we as humans learn, through trial and error, how to ride a bike, for example, when we were 5-6 years old. Machine learning does the same kind of thing, but with a computer. So it builds what's called a neural network. And just like our brains use kind of neural connections to determine what it's, how to effectively stand up on a bike and how to use the pedals to propel ourselves forward. The computer can use that kind of information to learn effectively, in the case of what we do, about your business. So if you answer as an owner back to a customer and the customer asks, do you have high chairs for my baby? And you answer that a few times in a particular way, the machine can learn that and then automatically answer that for you. So those are some of the services, if you will, that we provide for businesses, helping them learn from things from answers and information they're already giving back to their customers. We can learn and then automate that for them. So those basic questions become automatic answers for consumers.
Boy, technology continues to move forward at a lightning speed rate, and it's amazing that, you've come up with this technology. We're going to get into all the ins and outs of what it does and how it works. But as I mentioned before, it's more important now than ever to continue to communicate and keep your customers informed and aware of what's happening at your business. And Numa and Tasso are going to tell us exactly how that works. But before we go there, I want you to stay tuned to the episode because Tasso and Numa are offering a very generous offer to allow your business this technology on a free basis for a limited time during this crisis. So we'll get into all of that. But first of all, Tasso, you've got a very impressive background. It begins with the Harvard Business School, arguably one of the top MBA programs in the country. You have a finance background with some very prestigious firms. You founded a company called Location Labs, which you've sold for significant return on your initial investment. And you've got a tech background. So where did you switch after that, impressive start to a career and then start to develop the ideas for Numa? Like, where did that brainchild come from?
Well, so, and thanks for all that, but I do have to kind of credit my kind of small business immigrant parents for most of what I've learned and what's molded me as kind of as a person and as a business person in life. So my parents, who immigrated from Greece, ran a small convenience store. It was one of the classic kind of, hardworking immigrant stories. My parents worked every day for 8 years running the convenience store. And my mom taught me a lot about, kind of how small businesses thrive and survive. So after I sold Location Labs, I wanted to do something that went more back into my roots, including helping out small businesses. I was actually in the middle of doing a home remodel. I had a little bit more time on my hands. And what I found is when I was reaching out to these businesses, the flooring company or the guy who installs my appliances, the interactions were very, very awkward and poor. We were effectively exchanging voicemails with each other. And, one of the things that we said was like, I hate calling a business, picking up the phone and calling and trying to solve a problem when 2/3 of the time phone calls aren't even picked up. It was a very cumbersome, wrong process. And we have tools in today's world, and not just artificial intelligence, but also text messaging and chatting and other kinds of things that are better for both the consumer and for businesses. So one of the first mantras that we put on our website is people love calling a business, said no one ever. That's what we believe. What we ended up finding is what we did is we said, okay, well, let's help these businesses out. Let's convert their phone calls into messaging. And then we went and we got a bunch of pilot customers and we said, hey, look, everybody prefers messaging. And what our businesses told us is the following, which is, I still have my phone number and I'm never going to get rid of that because it's the lowest common denominator way that a customer can reach me. If I'm a restaurant or I'm a retail shop or I'm a dentist's office, I need a phone number because that's how a lot of people still reach me. And you could always call my phone number. I may not have a web form for you to fill out. I may not even have a website, but I have a phone number. So what they told us, and this is where we learned from these small businesses, is that phone number is still part of their their lifeline with their customers. But the problem is that 2/3 of the time, actually the number that has been stated is 63% of times, phone calls into these businesses, into these Main Street businesses, aren't picked up. It might be because I'm a restaurant and I'm a fast casual restaurant. I'm currently serving customers, taking orders like in person, or I might be closed. I might be a florist shop and I close at 8 p.m. and the calls are coming in at 9. So, almost 2/3 of the time the calls don't get answered. And they said, we understand this messaging thing, but can you help us deal with the fact that we have customers that we're missing? So the true initial genesis of the product, which was initially supposed to be helping businesses message with each other, was really about rescuing inbound customers, folks that are trying to reach businesses that aren't getting through. And if you don't get through to a business, you pick up the phone and you call another business. So that's a lost customer to me.
Yes.
True value prop, which is we help you, rescue these missed customers. And then, so if you call and you're not around, we say, hey, press 1 and we'll message you back. And we can process food orders for you in the case of restaurant. We can answer questions. We can help spas manage your appointments. We can take information from the florist so we can get back to you tomorrow morning and deliver and have your flowers ready for you. So that was what we discovered. So it's a combined inbound people calling businesses and helping those businesses take those leads and turn them into valuable, customers. That was what we did initially.
Are you seeing a greater percentage of the interactions being text-based versus phone calls and voicemails and that sort of thing? Or is it really all over the map and customers communicate with businesses in a wide variety of ways?
So I would say that, and it's such a evolving world as we see. If you talk to people just in general, all age categories, younger might be a little different, but the concept of texting a business is still a very foreign thing here in the United States and in the Western world. In China, it's not. There's a product called WeChat where everybody's on, every business is on, and every consumer is on. And that's a chat-based interface, and that's how you interact with businesses. There's payments built in, and that's very powerful. That kind of a ecosystem has not been developed here in the United States. So what we see is that people are still calling businesses for now. We'll engage in text and messaging with those customers if that's what they want to do, and they mostly do. So we see in the case of many businesses, 50% of those calls where people would have previously called and hung up, and that's a lost customer, we're able to rescue about 50% of those customers. And those are very valuable metrics for business. And when we rescue them, the interaction then will typically go into messaging. Sometimes there's some interactions that, look, I just need to speak to a person for, and that's fine. But in our service, the owner of the business or the manager of the particular location can text back. The artificial intelligence can answer some questions back. And what we're seeing is for our existing customers, the number of messages, interactions with customers every month is growing at a pretty significant rate. So you can imagine, we've almost doubled the number of messages from a year ago per business that are being sent. So if you think, for example, there's 100 messages sent per month, and that's not the number, it's just hypothetical. Now it's 200. So they've doubled the amount of messages. And I think that's going to continue to grow because there's many interactions that I would just rather manage on text messaging as a consumer, and it makes it easier for the business as well to keep track of the thread. So we're seeing a lot of growth, and a lot more customers now are messaging. But it still has a long way to go, and the phone is still a very active customer vehicle.
With that said, Tasso, it begs the question, is there some sort of an educational process when a customer communicates with a business for the very first time and Numa answers the phone? And is there some sort of an educational... We're going to talk all about personalization and branding, and I think that gives, that sort of lends so much of a competitive advantage to what you're doing. I think that's a spectacular part of the technology. I want to get into that. But let me go back to this question about educational process. If someone has never interacted with this business before, and then suddenly they go from reaching a live person on the phone to now reaching Numa, and, this process of communication will be ongoing in the future, do we let people know somehow that there are multiple ways of communicating with this business now that weren't there in place before, if that's clear? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'll walk you through an actual use case with...
All right, please do.
So there's a sandwich shop here in Oakland called Ratto's. And if you call Ratto's and they don't pick up the phone, there'll be a message that... They'll ask you to press 1 to receive an order. So you're on the phone with them. I want to place a telephone order, and they say, click. If you press 1, we will text you back with the ability to order. So then you press 1 on the phone. You get a text message back that says order, and then I click on and then I say yes, I want to order, and then I get a link back, which is very intuitive, that allows me to place a sandwich order. It takes me right on my phone to their webpage where I can select the kind of sandwich that I want. I select it. I can pay for it here. I can pay for it in the store, and it says it's going to be ready for me in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, for example. So that kind of an interaction is very natural for consumers, and that's what we're trying. That's where
I agree.
Where we actually see the bigger challenge for our business is getting the businesses to adopt the process. I'm not saying it's an insurmountable problem, but it's a little bit of a change because now they have one other way to process orders that they need to be cognizant of. So getting the business up and running on saying, hey, in addition to the other ways you're processing, you're getting restaurant orders right now, you need to also take into account this new method. That's something that has proved more of a challenge. The other very big development that we're seeing, and we think it's going to be very much a game changer, is both Google and Apple, but especially Google is offering. If you're a business and you're a message-enabled business, and I Google search your business, the menu that comes up in the Google search result, which is typically call this business, go to their website, or get directions to it, there's actually a fourth button that shows up right now, a fourth call to action button, which is message the business. So what's happening now, and this is we're talking about very small percentage of businesses which are message enabled right now. But if you kind of fast forward 2, 3, 4, 5 years, every business is going to want to be message enabled because it's another way for their customers to reach them. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine Google search results, which is how people are really looking for businesses, are now Google's going to offer you the ability to message that business, and we think that's when the tipping point hits, where people are like, hey, I don't call businesses anymore. I'm going to just message them because Google gives me that option. So we think on the consumer side, the discovery through Google, the discovery through telephone calls, and then the telephone call telling you, hey, we have a better way to communicate with you via messaging. That's where consumers are happiest.
All right, that's excellent. We briefly touched on the whole personalization and sort of branding so that this stays on strategy for your business or on brand, but can we dig a little deeper into that and give our audience a little better feel for how Numa is going to put the business's best foot forward for the customers, that it feels like the business when they communicate with the system?
Yeah, well, so if you think about it, if you were to actually look at the call profile of the voice calls that businesses get, so it's not just customers that are calling. Okay, it might be somebody trying to sell them something.
That's right. That's right. It happens all the time in this business. I don't need to tell you that.
All the time. And a lot of business, I remember like for us growing up, we had a convenience store, and when somebody would call our store, my parents would be like, it's probably somebody trying to sell something. Don't pick up the phone. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And a lot of folks are have that, that concern. So one of the things that we try and do with Numa is like, hey, we're going to allow you to like filter out phone calls that are not productive to you. Like, hey, you're not interested in buying a new system for this, or, buying advertising for this. You already have that covered. So what happens is the only folks that are going to be seen by the business are going to be customers, because they're actually the ones that are going to be requesting things that are of commercial relevance. So one of the things, just from a branding perspective from Numa, is, hey, you have these inbounds. There's some signal and there's some noise. We're going to help you. We're going to help folks in the signal, which are your customers, and the noise we're going to filter out for you. So we're going to allow you. We're very cognizant of your time. You're a small business. You don't have a lot of time on your hands. You want to be able to focus on providing the best quality product, service, whatever that may be to your customers. So you don't have time to sit on the phone while somebody's trying to sell you something. We'll filter that out.
Fantastic. I was on your website, and you have a demo there, and I'm actually going to include the link to that demo in the show notes to this episode, because I thought it was very well done, and it really explains what this does and how it works. And I thought it was really great because there's a young lady who wants to get her hair colored, and she simply texts a photograph of what she's thinking to this hair salon saying, can you do this? And the answer was, sure, we absolutely can do that. And all of a sudden a smile comes on her face, and you get that warm, touchy-feely sense of, here's an interaction that's very personal, yet they're not actually, they're communicating, but they're not actually speaking to a live person, but it's going to drive business to that salon. I thought that was awesome. And obviously this works with any business. It's a very personal way of communicating when you literally can't answer the phone, or you don't have a person because your restaurant just closed, but you still need to communicate with your customers. So I definitely want to include that demo. Again, I thought it was great. Let's talk about the app. Now, you've got an app that will allow you to change things on the fly. And then if you're the business, you can sort of prioritize and filter messages that come in, and you can figure out who I'm going to respond to or how and all that sort. Let's talk all about that.
Yeah, sure. So you're a business. In the previous world, you would get phone calls, and most people would hang up. Some people would leave voicemails. You wouldn't check voicemail for a while. If you call back that customer, typically we see that over 60% of the time that people don't actually return voicemails. So it was pretty much a lost customer. Now somebody's called. If they leave a voicemail or they text you back, that information is captured. So we do a voicemail to text. So on an app right now, you're able to see somebody has called you, left a voicemail. You're actually able to, in a lot of cases, see that phone number, which has like a name attached to it. So you can see, it was, Douglas that called me, Douglas, and you can also see, for example, that maybe this is an existing customer you've had an interaction with before. Maybe you're a retail shop and they have asked questions of whether, diesel jeans are in stock, and that might be something a conversation that you've had. So you're automatically, in a very subtle, in a very kind of simple way, having a customer relationship management, just in a simple messaging app, because I can see the history with this customer. You leave a voicemail, that gets transcribed. You can text them back. If the AI understands the voicemail, they can text them back automatically. You can make an appointment with them. If the customer, for example, is asking for something that is that you want somebody within your department, like we see this as well with some of the larger, bigger box of our customers, like hardware stores, for example. Let's say somebody called and asked about pet safe paint for their decks. And you're the store manager, you know the answer to that question, but you have somebody that works in a department. You have Richard, who works in the paint department, who is very knowledgeable about that. So Richard would have on their mobile phone a Numa client as well, and you can assign that question to Richard. So now Richard gets a notification on their phone. There's a customer that has got a specific paint question that he has the specific expertise to be able to answer. So now Richard is there, okay, these are, yes, we do have pet paint software, and he can take pictures. These are the color ranges. And then what you can do afterwards, you can say, hey, today only we're having a 10% off sale, everything in the store, to help lure the customer in. These are all the tools that a customer can use to take a simple phone call with a simple question. And like the AI can answer some aspects of it. You can incorporate the right kind of person in your organization, assign the tasks to them. Think of it as Slack-like in terms of you could be including other members of your organization to communicate externally to the customer. You can use video or pictures, as you said, with like the salon sending a picture, or the customer sending a picture to the salon to help the customer get the true information they're looking for. And we think what happens then is the percentage of probability that you actually get the customer to come into your store is then higher. And you have this relationship with them that comes in a thread. So that thread means that relationship, that thread is there forever. So if you ask for pet safe paint, a year later, if you're having a sale, for example, and the customer's opted in and they need to repaint the deck, they say, we're having a sale on this, and you can bring them back in. So it's just a better business tool to have better relationship with customers, answer their questions in a deeper, more significant way, and bring them into your establishment in a non-salesy way, in a very natural way. That's very much our goal.
I love that, non-salesy and authentic. That is certainly obviously putting the business's best foot forward. Let's talk a little bit more about frequently asked questions and the artificial intelligence and how it automatically recognizes a question that comes in often or frequently, and based on a business owner or manager's response, it automatically sends that response to a similar or the same question. Is that how that works?
Yeah. So there's a couple aspects of it. The first thing that we do is, if you're a business and you have an online profile, let's say you have a Yelp page or a Google, Google page, and you're typically having these pages. On those web pages, there is what we call basic information about you, your hours. Do you accept credit cards? You have parking. Those kinds of basic questions. The first thing that our AI, if you will, does is it goes off and goes to the web pages and learns about your business. So information that's on there, we assume you put on there because it's like questions that are common questions to you. So questions like I said, like, do you have parking? No, we only have street parking. We can answer those questions automatically on behalf of you. So the information you've created digitally about your business, we build a conversation engine around it where the AI can answer your questions. And then there's other questions that start to come in specifically about your business. So for example, one question might be, it's Labor Day. Are you open? And that's a dynamic question because that's an event that happens once a year, and some years you open, some years you don't. If you answer back, yes, we're open Labor Day, and you've answered it back a few times, this is where the other aspect of our AI, which is machine learning, kicks in and says, okay, we think that whenever somebody asks a question about 2020 Labor Day, that you are open. Can we answer this automatically and remove this kind of headache for you to answer this question? And you click yes, and the system is now configured and answers that question automatically.
I'm intrigued. Let's talk about the onboarding process. How simple is it to get up and running in your restaurant with Numa? And what's the process? Like, how long does it take, and what do we do, and how long before we're comfortable using the technology?
So what we're doing for you is we're taking your existing phone number, which is typically a landline number, and we're making it textable, messageable. Okay, so doing that is not a difficult process at all. You pretty much give us permission to do so, and we can get you up and running very, very, very quickly. The other aspect of onboarding, which requires a little bit more work from a business, but it's work that has a worthwhile investment, is to configure the voice aspect. So the first thing, let me just step back. The first thing that I mentioned is you have a phone number. If somebody texts you on that phone number right now, and businesses are getting texts on those phone numbers, those messages disappear into the ether. They're gone. Okay, they vaporize, and that's a lost communication for you as a business. When we message enable your phone, we'll capture those messages, and people can text your number and make that happen, and you can respond back to them. Now, where we see a lot of value, especially in today's world, is when someone calls you and you're not able to pick up. And some of our businesses, by the way, stop picking up their phone. They're just letting Numa handle everything. We want to integrate with your phone system, so if there's a missed call, if somebody sends you a voicemail, we're able to link that missed call or voicemail into the messaging app. So for there, we need to integrate with your existing phone system. Integrate being too strong a word. We effectively need to get your call forwarding set up. So we set you up with call forwarding, so the messages, the incoming phone calls get forwarded into Numa, and then we take it from there. You can still pick up the phone, you still use your phone like normal, but if you're not picking up the phone, Numa helps you out there. So that's the one integration point that we do from an onboarding perspective.
Wow, it's incredible. Well, that's great. Then it takes virtually no time. I'm hearing it doesn't require any additional hardware other than your existing computer, your tablet, existing phone lines, that sort of thing. So that's pretty simplistic. Now, you offer a very low monthly rate with no hidden charges generally. And then now I believe your offer is for the next 2 months or so when someone signs up for Numa. If you've been affected by this crisis, whether you're open as a business, whether you're closed as a business, you're going to honor that and offer 2 months of free service. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, and I think our view is that we're not looking for any kind of credit or our view is that in a well-functioning liberal democracy, capitalist-driven market, that the survival of that system, which I think is the most important kind of system in society, is that you step up when there's crises like this. And for small businesses, I think it's been well documented. This is a major crisis.
It is for sure.
You are living, month to month with your rent, which is your highest fixed cost. Customers are unable to buy, so you have no revenue coming in. You have employees that have perhaps been loyal to you or you struggle to keep in many cases in today's world. And if you can't earn a living with your business, our system is under threat. So our perspective is we have to do whatever we can, and we're building tools. We're not just offering our service for free, which we think is not even a give. I mean, this is what companies should be doing to help out our fellow companies because the existence of the system is dependent on that. But we're also building specific tools. Like we built a curbside pickup tool for our restaurant business, or other businesses could use as well. So we have invested in a tool that, in addition to the free service, is also meant to help businesses in the new operating procedures right now, where I'm not actually physically interacting with you in my store, but you're doing curbside pickup. So you build a curbside pickup feature for our service. And you're right, it's for 2 months. It might be longer. It's really a function of how long this crisis is going on.
Yeah.
We're a software company, so our fixed costs are our employees, but we don't have the same. And I grew up in a small business. I know how it works. We don't have the and we've raised funding and stuff. So it's a different scenario for us. But small businesses are very, very much affected. Their employees are immensely affected. So if we can help them operate and get revenue, which is what Numa is trying to do right now, we want to make that as broadly available to everybody, and just use it, and let's not worry about any fees.
That's fantastic, Tasso. I so appreciate your clarifying that for us. And I'm glad you brought up the curbside delivery sort of pickup upgrade, you might say. You've added that to the system. So this technology keeps improving all the time. You keep improving the system and the product. I think that's awesome as well. We've covered a lot of ground today. Is there anything we've missed that you'd still like to talk about or explain further about Numa?
I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think we're good.
Well, I really appreciate your appearing today on the Restaurant RockStars podcast. I will offer the website. It is numahelps.com, and that's Numa helps.com. And once again, I'm going to offer that free demo link in the show notes because you got to check that out. It really explains, and it takes this conversation to the next level, really brings it to life, I think. So thanks again, Tasso, for your time. That was the Restaurant RockStars podcast, and we will see you in the next episode. Everyone stay well, stay healthy, and we wish you all the best of success in the weeks and days, weeks, and months ahead during this crisis. We're all in this together. Thank you again for tuning in. Well, Rockstars, the future remains uncertain. No one knows when the crisis will end, but it is more important now than ever to put your house in order and to do everything you can while you're idle or you've pivoted and you're spending different time in your restaurant, figuring out what the systems are and how you can improve your business for greater profitability, and not just to survive this crisis, but to truly succeed when the dust settles and we're able to reopen our businesses. If this idea intrigues you, do you know that I'm happy to offer a 30-minute consultation, absolutely complimentary, because I love talking shop with operators. I'm passionate about this business. I love helping others. The industry's been very good to me. And again, we're in this together. If you have a question, if there's something I can help you solve, please reach out to me, Roger, Roger, at restaurantrockstars.com. As always, we appreciate you listening. If this is helping you, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review. It'll help others find us. And we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant RockStars Podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.